Welcome back, NoDQ Galaxy, for the last edition of the NoDQ review for 2021. We are on episode 168, and I am Virtue, the moderator, the head of the table of this panel, being joined, of course, as I always am, by Aaron Rift. Dr. Jargo is back, the New Japan fan, and Mikey T making his second appearance on the NoDQ review on the eve before New Year's Eve. Mikey T, what's up?
What is good, guys? I appreciate the opportunity to be back on NoDQ. You know, this is an exclusive platform. We got some dope topics tonight. You know, I've been doing a little bit of research. Roman Reigns, Toni Storm, a little bit of Bill Goldberg, but we'll get into that shortly, man. I appreciate the opportunity to be back. I am Mikey T.
Good having you on, and we'll see how the NoDQ Galaxy interacts with us this show. I'd love to be out of here in under an hour. We'll see how that goes. Jargo, what's up, man?
I'd love to be out of here in under an hour too, man, because, you know, I think I had like 3 hours of sleep today, went and got tattooed with my 8-year-old or 18-year-old, my 8-year-old. God, that would have been scary, right? Going like human services. But yeah, so I came back, did a podcast with you and Vito, and now here we are for the review. Let's get it going for the last time, 2021.
All right. Good having you back. And of course, Aaron Rift. I like the shirt.
Yep. The I'm sorry shirt, which is the Virtue shirt that you can pick up over on nodq.com/merch, the official nodq.com merchandise website. It's been a pleasure to do these videos over the past year, and we head into 2022. We got another year, and things are starting to heat up as we get closer to the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania season. A lot of interesting possibilities to discuss, so I say let's get down to it.
And a shout out to Colin, the Cleaver Andrew, who is in the chat, and he is also a panel member, and he looks to be returning in 2022. All right, guys, the first thing we're going to talk about is Toni Storm is no longer with WWE. I believe she asked for her release, and she got it, so we got to go around the horn here. This is somebody that was, you know, wrestling on TV, but she was also getting whipped cream, pie in her face, all that kind of good WWE sports entertainment stuff. Where is she going to be going? I mean, you know, when they leave WWE, there might be personal reasons, take some time off. They could go to Impact Wrestling, New Japan, like, you know, not New Japan for women, but Stardom, AEW. So, guys, we got to talk about this. Toni Storm, who is a winner of the Mae Young Classic, former winner there. Triple H, one of, you know, his products, they're coming up through NXT. Was she in NXT UK?
Yeah.
Is that where she came from? Mikey T, talk about it. I mean, she's no longer in WWE. Are we past the allegedly part now, Aaron?
Oh, yeah, apparently she quit. She walked out.
So, Mikey T, here we go. We always talk about these releases.
Yeah, Virtue. You know, Toni Storm was she had a high potential, in my opinion. You know what? She actually won, I think, what was it, the second Mae Young Classic? Was it at the Evolution pay-per-view?
It was around that time.
It was so she won the second Mae Young Classic. Then she was on NXT UK. She kind of she came over onto the WWE main roster kind of quick. I would have thought she would have had a little more time on the regular NXT brand, you know, to build herself a little bit more. But she came on to the WWE brand, you guys, and then in the last month, she's facing Charlotte, and I really didn't understand it. Now, I'm a fan of this girl. I want to see her prosper, but just putting her in there against the biggest talent that you have, that's really no way to go. She hadn't even had any build like Liv Morgan had, you know, and Liv Morgan's build had been horrendous, from a 3-woman team to not even on television to getting a shot at the title. So with Toni Storm, it was just kind of crazy for me to see her on television facing Charlotte. But I was like, it's a good fit. You know, Aaron, you're on there reviewing. She's in a match teaming with Sasha Banks against Shotzi and Charlotte. So it's like she's become a fixture on SmackDown, and then she just wants off. It really took me by storm. It no pun intended. But one other thing I want to add in is you got to look at her name. It's Toni. You know what I mean? I don't think they're going to be referring to Toni as one of their, you know, women on television like Charlotte, Sasha, Becky. You know what I mean?
They could have shortened it to Storm, like an American Gladiator. Remember the
Marvel
American
would have
Gladiator?
loved that. Let me tell
Yeah,
you.
that's right. Yeah,
But I don't think it would have ever been
two M's.
Toni.
Yeah.
I'll leave
And,
it at that.
and you know, now Jargo, we were talking over on Vito's channel. I'm going to go to you next. And you said before we went on the air here, outside of the 4 horsewomen in WWE, which right now Bayley's hurt, but she'll be back. And, you know, they've teased with the Bianca Belair. She won at WrestleMania, lost the title already. And I don't know what they're doing with Rhea Ripley. Is this the time for them not to be like booking other women outside of those 4 strong to where they're asking for their release? I mean, take it away. What's up with Toni Storm and where's she going to go? Maybe she'll take time off.
I mean, Toni Storm, when she came into the WWE, was probably considered one of the top 5 women's independent wrestlers in the world. The work that she was doing with Progress over in the UK, she was over in Stardom, just an absolute terror going through the Australian independent scene. And then globally, she comes over, does the Mae Young Classic, has a great run in the first one, wins the second one. But I never felt like she was a sports entertainer. She goes over to NXT UK, where it's about the most pro wrestling heavy property that the WWE has. Then she comes over to NXT and she kind of flounders a little bit because they try to give her a bit more character, take away the rock star thing. And it just wasn't working because Toni Storm is a professional wrestler, not a sports entertainer. She goes up to the main roster and suddenly she's being asked to do the pie in the face gimmick and whatnot. And I think she is one of these people, like a Daniel Bryan, that is more about the art than she is about the platform. I think Finn Balor said it the best when he made a comment that, you know, like NXT was Broadway and the main roster was more Hollywood. And I think there are some people that fit into that context, and there's some people that are just professional wrestlers trying to be sports entertainers, and they just don't fit. As far as where she ends up landing, there's a couple of options. I mean, obviously, I think AEW, if they could pick her up, that would be an absolute coup for them to bring in Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm within a course of about 90 days. But I think Impact Wrestling is a real possibility because Juice has been doing a lot of work there. And I also think if Juice goes back to Japan and competes in New Japan proper, it's very possible we see Toni Storm return to Stardom. And I think that would be the ideal landing spot for her right now.
Yes, Mike.
In regard to, I wanted to say it. I saw somebody in the chat had said that would be cool if AEW had made a sneak offer to Toni Storm. You know what I mean? And maybe that could be a reason as to why she's just like, I'm done with you guys. Pies in the face. You know, you're making fun of me, giving me matches with Charlotte that I win by disqualification, this, that, and the third. But Jargo, I got to disagree. I don't think that Toni Storm ending up in AEW is going to be a good fit, because watching her in the match, seeing her facial expressions, you know, when Charlotte was just chopping her and she was getting angry, I was not digging her getting angry face. Like,
but that's in WWE's bubble. What did she look like in the Mae Young Classic?
All right, but also just seeing her in the ring, I mean, like her body type as well. Her body type wasn't really it making me a believer. You know what I mean? I didn't really become.
Does she not look tough enough?
She doesn't really look tough enough. And also in regard to AEW, I don't think bringing over Toni Storm or Mercedes it's not a needle moving thing, man. I didn't really care that Mercedes showed up, and I don't think Toni Storm is going to move the needle. A lot of people didn't even know Mercedes.
Outside of Becky, Charlotte, Sasha, and Bayley, the 4 horsewomen, name me one needle moving female professional wrestler in the world right now.
Oh, it's going to have to be Bianca Belair. She's coming up.
See, I don't think she's a needle mover at all either. I would have Bianca Belair and Toni Storm on very much the same kind of level.
Well,
they actually just had Bianca Belair on Hot 97, you know, the show that Rosenberg works for. They had her and Montez Ford come onto their podcast. And, you know, I think that's a sort of a representation of they could be public figures, public speaking.
That's a good point.
Well, and if the WWE pushes someone hard enough, they can get that right over time, like Roman Reigns, right?
Right.
It's how they want to do it.
But Liv Morgan, you know, she has a bit more than Toni had because of the fact that it was genuine. You know, it's genuine momentum, you know, that Liv Morgan was getting with all the fans really starting to love her. You get like the Liv Morgan face girl and stuff like that. Now she's going to bring her to the pay-per-view. And now I got to change my prediction for the prediction league and almost go with Liv Morgan if they're going to go that far.
And Liv is a great example of the other end of the coin. Like, to me, Liv Morgan is a sports entertainer. She is not a professional wrestler.
Right.
It all depends on the context that you want to put them into.
Yep. And Alexa Bliss would be a sports entertainer too.
Absolutely.
Someone put her in the chat. So yeah, I mean,
Alexa Bliss would get murdered in Stardom. Would get murdered.
Yeah, and that's not saying they can't do basics and know how to do some wrestling, but it's a different culture of match for sure. Aaron, I'm coming over to you now because I saw a couple super chats come in as well. Don't know if they're on topic or not, but
real quick regarding Bianca Belair, I was at this event in Saginaw a few weeks ago and she got a huge reaction. And I saw a lot of Bianca Belair t-shirts, probably second to Roman Reigns. Just wanted to throw that out there. Let me get to the super chats. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, what faces are left for Charlotte to fight? Naomi? Well, somebody mentioned Xia Li in the chat room. I could see Xia Li being a potential opponent for her next. I was definitely surprised about this news because she was getting a push. Now, if she got cut 3 weeks ago, I might not have been surprised, but they were pushing her. And they don't have a lot of women on the SmackDown side of the roster. Really, they don't have a lot on either brand at this point. They have a pretty thin roster.
Is there any indication as to when Bayley is due back? Could we see a surprise return on Saturday?
I'm thinking Royal Rumble.
Maybe in time for the Royal Rumble. I could see that as a possibility. I think
if the plan was the Rumble, if the plan was the Rumble, I could easily see them being like, "Hey, can you do Saturday?" Because Bayley would get a big enough pop. It would be a big enough deal that even if it was a 7-minute match and she ends up losing, they can pull that off.
Now, I will say in regard to that super chat that a heel Naomi versus a face Charlotte may be interesting.
A face Charlotte, though, at this point?
I mean, Charlotte's always going face. All Charlotte has to do to go face is just come out there and do something to help her face, you know, and she'll, you know what I mean? So
see, Charlotte to me is one of those people that can never be a baby face because she has zero redeemable qualities. Like everything about her screams scumbag to me.
Well, I mean, a face this day and age is
great for
in the ring. You know what I mean? A face this day and age is just really good in the ring, like a Sammy Guevara turned face just because he was really good in the ring.
I don't think that works either. The whole like Spanish God thing doesn't work as a babyface gimmick for me.
Yeah.
And he just proved why.
Wow. All right, then. So the word is that there was maybe burnout. We don't know how accurate that is. It could just be speculation at this point until Toni Storm actually goes online and tells people what's up or does an interview and say, this is why I left. I mean, it could be any number of reasons. It could be burnout. It could be something with her mental health. Maybe it was just too much going on the road. Maybe the stuff with COVID. Who knows? There could be a lot of reasons. It could be a combination of everything. Maybe it was partly the creative process and maybe that pie to the face. You have to think the pie to the face didn't do any favors as far as her morale went because that was just one of the worst segments. And usually when people call out a segment on WWE TV and say, oh man, this is terrible, even if the wrestler defends it in the moment, eventually, whenever they leave the company, they go back to that segment and they're like, yeah, that was terrible. I remember Stardust with Cody Rhodes. I was talking about how bad that gimmick was and how it was going for too long. And Cody blocked NoDQ for a while. And then, of course, when he left the company, he unblocked NoDQ and did these interviews and said that Stardust was terrible. So, yeah.
Daniel Price in the chat room also brings up Asuka. There's a name that we haven't heard in a while. She should be back too.
That's right. She's one of my favorites.
Well, and Asuka and Charlotte, there's a ton of history there. You could do that on Zero Build as well.
Yeah. So they always rest on their laurels, though, right? Still add Asuka into that mix. That's only going to last so long based on her age. You still need to develop new stars, even on the female end.
Yeah. So the last thing I want to say is I just wish her well. I hope she's in a good place. And I think if she wants work, she'll be able to get work. There's a lot of places she can go. AEW is obvious. She can go to Japan. She can go to the UK. She can go to Australia. I mean, she will have no trouble finding work if that's what she's wanting. I just hope she's doing well and hope to see her again soon when she's ready to get back in the ring. And it is 90 days since she was on the main roster. They did grant her release. It's 90 days until she's free to work somewhere else. Now, Psycho Jet Black sent in another $2 super chat. He says, Stardust was more entertaining than Happy Corbin. I disagree with that, though. And you know what? I did like Stardust a little bit at first, but I felt like they dragged that gimmick out way too long. But I did like when him and Dustin were teaming up and doing that thing. But they should have done Dustin versus Cody at WrestleMania, and they never did it.
Like AEW did, and WWE dropped the ball there.
I always liked the idea that Cody had put out on a podcast shortly after he left WWE that at one point it was being discussed that Stardust was going to be on Raw and Cody Rhodes would be on SmackDown. I thought that would have been a great gimmick.
I would have liked it.
Well, I mean, the Stardust gimmick really lasted probably about as long as any of Cody's other gimmicks. You know, he really, gets his run out of those. You know, the masked guy, the dashing Cody Rhodes. He really, he's old school with it, like his dad. He really knows how to tour a gimmick, I guess you could say.
Right.
Because I expected that to be shorter too, Aaron. But no, he kept playing that for probably, 2 years almost?
It felt like 2 years, that's for sure.
At least a full year.
All right, let's see. We got one more super chat here from Psycho Jet Black. Thank you for that. He says, I'm sorry that Drew McIntyre has to waste his time with Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss. Hopefully it's one pay-per-view.
I think that's exactly what it is, though. He's just wasting time until, he can get himself into the main event picture with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. This is literally just him killing time, waiting for that storyline to work itself out.
I mean, I'm hoping it ends at day one. It might drag out to the Royal Rumble. They might do the handicap match at the Royal Rumble. God help us all, but we'll see what happens.
They might do the double match thing at day one with him beating Madcap, and then Corbin rolls in and they have a second match right on the spot.
And then they should have a third match where he beats both of them at the same time.
Yes,
just to not do it at the Rumble. But yeah, I'm wondering.
But then you could have Corbin and Moss team up to take Drew out of the Rumble. Like I could easily see them doing that.
Yeah, but then that would take Drew McIntyre out of the speculation for the main event. There wouldn't really be much of an upside to that.
So here's what we're going to do, guys. This is the next topic. What we've talked about 2021, right? What we like, whatever. Let's talk about what we want in 2022. And it can be like one or two things. And I'm going to start. Obviously, I want Rock versus Roman Reigns. But based on what we're going to talk about later, that's in question. It's always been in question with The Rock's availability, if and when that would ever happen. So we can linger this Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns thing. I know Roman's going to headline WrestleMania if he's there. What else do I want? Jargo, what's the possibilities that Jay Switchblade White, there's two things I want from him. I don't want him to go to WWE, okay? I want him to become, in 2022, the New Japan Pro Wrestling World Champion. Has he won that? Has he already been the champion?
He has been the IWGP champion. He has not been the IWGP World Heavyweight champion.
So I want him to either go back and do that, and I know that's a lot of things that have to happen for that to happen, or I want him to show up in AEW, and I want somebody in AEW I can get behind, no matter what if the fans like it or don't like it. I know I like this guy. So those are what I want for 2022. Simple. Roman Reigns staying at the top, and I want my wrestler, right, that's not in that WWE sports entertainment bubble, Jay White, right? Because he's a badass heel. Jargo, what do you want in 2022?
Man, I'm with you on the Jay White thing. I think Jay White would be fantastic on Western American television that's not inside of a WWE context, because they take away everything from Switchblade Jay White that makes him cool. So I'm absolutely down for that. I mean, I feel like the obvious answer is COVID needs to go away. And COVID needs to go away so that we can open up some borders here and we can start getting some of the New Japan proper talent over here to the States, get some of the AEW talent over to Japan. I feel like there's a lot of intermingling that can go on there. But probably the biggest thing that I want is for the AEW women's division to start incorporating some Stardom talent. Stardom recently, they did 3,000 people inside of Ryogoku Sumo Hall, and that made them the number 3 promotion in all of Japan by attendance for 2021, behind New Japan by a considerable margin and right behind Dragon Gate. So they have blown up as the biggest Joshi promotion in the world. I think they have been the best booked promotion throughout the course of all of 2021. And I would love to see some of their talent actually coming over here to America, because God knows the AEW women's division, it's come a long way over the course of the last couple of years, but it's still got a long way to go.
Well said. And I'm figuring the NoDQ Galaxy will chime in the chat here. Mikey T, what do you want? I'm kind of interested here where this is going to go in 2022. Well, you can list a couple things if you want.
I have a few things. All right. So let's go AEW first. So AEW 2022, I think they should pull the trigger on the Cody Rhodes heel turn. I think that would be dope. You got the best wrestler to actually face him off with now. You got Hangman Page. Cody Rhodes will make the perfect heel for Hangman Page. Hell, probably do it for the Double or Nothing pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying? Unless they've turned Punk heel by that point, which I don't see them doing with Bryan's heel turn, so quick. Let's bring it over to ROH. Jargo, just last week we were talking about who would have been at that ROH show when you had said the other guy wouldn't make it. It ended up being Jay Lethal, right?
Yeah.
What a move it would have been for AEW and Jay Lethal, for ROH to put the belt on Lethal, to have him on television, on Dark, on the internet, doing hundreds of millions of thousands of views, whatever.
Which on Dynamite on TNT,
which makes sense. But here is the counter argument to that. Ring of Honor has always been in business with CMLL and New Japan Pro Wrestling. They have a 3-way partnership between all of the companies. Jonathan Gresham, by all accounts, will be returning to Ring of Honor if or when they relaunch in April, and is going to be working with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So they wanted the Ring of Honor title featured on New Japan television, not AEW television. So that's kind of the counter to that.
Right. I was just thinking about that earlier today. So I would like, this is my thing though, for 2022, I would like ROH to come back in a major capacity, like they've kind of been teasing, like with the FTR, who isn't necessarily the top team in AEW, able to take bookings at ROH, potentially being the ROH tag team champions. You got Braun Strowman and EC3 forming this faction. I could see big things, potentially ROH being maybe what TNA was during that weekly period where they actually brought in good superstars. Obviously, these guys are going to have to take pay cuts. A lot of people take pay cuts, you guys, even major actors like Leonardo DiCaprio. So it's not out of the thought, you know what I mean, that these guys could take a pay cut to make this promotion work for the long term. And WWE, I mean, what do I want for WWE in 2022?
Where do you begin?
Yeah, what can we? Well, AEW has beat WWE on one thing, putting together a women's mid-card title. I really respect Tony Khan for that. I would like the king.
Wait. The women's tag titles aren't a mid-card title for the women in WWE.
They still have those?
Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. 2 people get a title, But maybe the king of the ring actually did return. It was horrible. Oh yeah. I don't know. I'm out of maybe a good last man standing match for 2022.
All right, Aaron, I'm coming over to you. The reason why I did not say Riddle turning heel, because I don't want it. I want that so bad. I feel if I said it,
right,
I really want that it's not going to happen. So I'm just going to act like that's not something I want. So go. So go.
Well, I was going to say that. That was one of the things on my list.
You can. I'm just not going to jinx it. So,
all right. Well, I'll start with AEW, and I do want to answer this super chat here from Dwayne Atkinson. He sent in $5. Thank you, Dwayne. He says, in 2022, who would you like to see become a first-time world champion in any promotion? And I know he was NXT champion, but I don't think that really counts. I'd like to see Keith Lee eventually become the AEW world champion in 2022, maybe the end of the year. I'd like to see, starting with AEW, I would like to see MJF win the title from Hangman Page and then maybe build up Keith Lee. Keith Lee could potentially be the guy, and AEW could do with Keith Lee what WWE failed to do. Keith Lee is a big guy, and he can move like a cruiserweight. He's not the best talker, but he's got some charisma and personality. And I think if he wasn't so scripted, maybe he would do all right. But let him just stick to what he's good at. Let him go out there and be an ass kicker and build him up. I think Keith Lee should be the guy. And people have criticized AEW that they don't push enough African Americans at the top of the card. Well, I think that's your problem solved right there. Keith Lee, I think he's as good as anybody in the industry. Push him to the top, and there you go. You got somebody that could carry the company. And MJF, I want to see win the title. I want to see CM Punk go heel at some point. That little promo we had from him a few months ago, or not a few months ago, a few weeks ago. I want to see more of that from him. And maybe, I know Jargo doesn't like this, but maybe a trios championship.
Oh, God. That was so horrible. First, they had a 5-pack, the 10-man tag. Then right after, a 6-man tag.
It gets more people on the show with that growing roster.
Right. And since you already have a bunch of 6-man matches as it is, you might as well have a trios title.
Yep.
But I know it's not Jargo's cup of tea, the trios title.
Hashtag no more belts.
Yeah. I mean, okay. WWE. Let's go over to WWE now. And where do I begin? There's so many things from a creative standpoint. Let's get rid of contract signings. Let's stop doing the camera shaking anytime somebody gets in a fight and doing the 20 cuts in 10 seconds deal that they do. Let's get rid of that. Let's stop doing the opening match promo that turns into a match after the commercial break, or a match ends in a DQ and people run down and they turn it into a tag team match. Let's cut that shit out. Let's start doing some different types of segments. Let's stop focusing on making everything look perfect and look scripted. Loosen up on the scripting and make the show feel like anything can happen. Make it more unpredictable and have things happen that make us question, was that part of the plan? Was that part of the plan? Was that something that was meant to happen? So that's the creative stuff. Stop doing constant rematches. Spread the matches out. If you're going to have a series of matches, don't do them all week to week to week. Stop that. Get some other people on the shows. You can cycle people in and out, but stop having the same 6 people on every show. Stop having the same 4 people take up the first hour of the show.
But they released everybody else, Aaron.
And Aaron, before you continue, Noah Foster, when you watch this, when you get time, make a list of everything Aaron's asking for here. You got to see it in a document form.
That's got to be a meme. Everything that Aaron's asking for.
All right, so I got the creative stuff off my chest. That's the first thing.
There's more?
Maybe a little bit more. As far as matches go, I mean, The Rock, I think that's not going to happen this year. As far as matches I would like to see in 2022, I want to see Matt Riddle go heel. I want to see Matt Riddle versus Goldberg. I mean, I know Goldberg only has one more match on his contract, but I would be intrigued by that. Have Matt Riddle end Goldberg's career. That's
a hell of a segue, Aaron, because we're going to be talking about that next.
Yeah, I would love to see Matt Riddle run Goldberg out of wrestling for good and retire. You know how another pet peeve I have about wrestling is when guys always cut promos and say, I'm going to end your career at this pay-per-view. When does that ever happen? Nobody's career ever ends. They always come back. But Matt Riddle could say, I'm going to end Goldberg's career, and it's actually Goldberg's final match, and Goldberg does the right thing for the future of the business and puts over Matt Riddle on the way out. Bam, Matt Riddle is a made man. Ended the career of the legendary Bill Goldberg. That's what I would do in 2022.
There you have it, people. Like one of the topics was Goldberg has another match, which is obviously going to happen in 2022. And here we are. What Aaron suggested is perfect because of Matt Riddle running his mouth about Goldberg. That would be a great WrestleMania match even. And in order to make that happen, you got to the best way is put Riddle heel and use Orton to do that, right? Nobody would expect it. And there you have it. So Mikey T, what?
Real quick, before we go back to, let me get these other super chats.
Oh, yeah,
here.
okay.
Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says 2022 heel Punk, Brian and Cody joining forces. That's interesting.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be. I'm not sure how I feel about Cody. I think Cody is kind of doing the John Cena thing now where he's just that shade of gray and he's getting the mixed reactions. I think it's working for him. I don't think he needs to do anything different.
I think Cody's heel character is a delusional babyface.
Yeah. Kind of like what Kurt Angle did when he first came into WWE, where he's going out there.
Very much so.
He's acting like he's the good guy and he's doing the right thing, but everybody hates him.
But guys, it's like Cody Rhodes' situation is a little bit different. Like he makes the new T-shirt. If that shirt is real, what does it say? Heel,
baby face, winner.
A winner? Yeah, like, you know, like do we have to really wait until we see nobody buy that T-shirt? Like for Cody Rhodes to understand that the people are just sick of him. The people are just kind of tired, and he did it to himself because he put himself in all of these oddball feuds over the last 2 years of AEW. Nothing that we can even really want to remember, but we unfortunately do.
So, Mikey T, the chat's saying they hear a little bit of echo. Mike, you don't have the headphones on. Is your volume up a little too high, maybe? I don't know if it's you, but I usually...
Does that help? I just turned my volume down a little bit.
We'll find out. But I'm coming over to you now because, Aaron and I agree, right? Matt Riddle and Goldberg. Do you see Goldberg wrestling? Probably Roman Reigns. Like, what's Goldberg's last match, on his contract? And is it going to be the end of Goldberg, or will WWE go to the well again because of Saudi Arabia and who knows who else?
Well, the way you guys set it up, saying that Riddle and Goldberg would happen at WrestleMania, it would have to happen.
Well, that'd be ideal.
It would have to happen at next year's WrestleMania, so it would be a 2023 thing. But honestly, I think
well, explain that. Why would it have to happen at next year's?
Because Goldberg is Riddle is obviously going to face Randy Orton at this year's WrestleMania.
They can speed things up if they want, or it could be SummerSlam. The Goldberg match could be SummerSlam.
All right, but here's why it wouldn't work at SummerSlam. Because if WrestleMania is going to be Goldberg's last match, they would have to sign him to a new contract. Now, if they were going to have him lose, I don't see them having him lose at SummerSlam, because then they would have to bring him back for one more match. He would lose on his last match. So, but one thing in my mind that just hit is they could have him lose to Riddle, make Riddle look ultimately great as a heel after defeating Orton at WrestleMania, and then they could have Goldberg return for a one-off at the Royal Rumble as a big entrant in the 2023 Royal Rumble. Because when they re-sign Goldberg, it's going to ultimately be for another 2 dates, is what I'm thinking. That's where my logic was coming from. But,
alrighty. Yep.
Now, as far as the last match for Roman Reigns, one of the guys at NoDQ, Steve-O, was saying, something that I pretty much agree with. I think that they're going to run this Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar feud out with day one, possibly the Royal Rumble or the February Saudi show. I don't think they necessarily need to go Reigns, Brock at Royal Rumble. I think they could hold it over to the February Saudi show and give Saudi their resolution to what they, to that whole story. And then I think WrestleMania, we get what we didn't get at 36, and it's going to be Roman Reigns versus Goldberg. That's not much of a draw, in my opinion, but we do have 2 nights, but I think.
But to WWE, they might think it is. That's why they keep bringing Goldberg back.
Yeah. I hope it's his last match, but if they're going to let Goldberg and Riddle go at it and let Riddle be this vicious UFC type, star, a win over Orton and a win over Goldberg to follow that up at SummerSlam would be perfect.
All right, Jargo, I know you're excited about talking about this.
Man, Tyson's Paradise just stole my answer. The correct answer is Chris Jericho. I want to see Chris Jericho versus Bill Goldberg. That is, like, to me, that could be the final match for both of those guys. Jericho,
AEW, it's going to happen.
Goldberg, and I like, that's it. Like, I fully support Chris Jericho, but going back and finishing his career in the WWE, and he should end Goldberg's career. I mean, because let's face it, Goldberg was kind of the beginning of Jericho's main event career. Yeah. And it was all because Goldberg refused to wrestle Jericho. I want Jericho Goldberg. Like, I want Jericho Goldberg. I've wanted it for 25 years at this point.
But let me just say, Jargo, Aaron, Virtue, you guys probably agree. I don't think that Jericho needed Goldberg to even be there to go where he was going to go. Although that was at the point when he was making that elevation from the cruiserweight, the TV title, to where you would actually take him serious. So yeah, I do agree with you in that aspect.
It was money. It was money even back then.
It was
because Goldberg's run was so big, and it was right in the middle of the war, the Monday Night Rating War, and all that. Jericho, this mid-card cruiserweight TV title guy, was all of a sudden talking about their main event guy they were pushing to the moon. It was unfortunate that Goldberg wouldn't at least give him that squash match the right way. But look where Jericho's ended up. Pretty damn good career. You know what? Let's just go ahead and move on to the main event here. And this is a weird topic.
Virtue.
Yeah.
I think – I'm sorry, Aaron.
You go first.
I think it could happen in AEW if Tony Khan brings Goldberg in to take a Judas effect. For the 1, 2, 3, let Jericho get it back the right way. Would Tony Khan spend his money on that, Aaron?
Probably not.
No,
he's not a wrestler.
Tony Khan doesn't strike me as a big Goldberg mark.
Goldberg is a sports entertainer.
Like, although he liked WCW, though.
He did.
Aaron, what were you chiming in?
We do have a few super chats. Let me get to this before we go to the final.
And then just so everybody knows, as the numbers start rising, our last half hour here, Roman Reigns is going to be discussed shortly. Yeah. As we see those numbers go up, Aaron will segue that with some super chats.
We should put up the little preview graphic for our main event segment coming up here in just a moment. We will be talking about Roman Reigns and what's going to happen to him in 2022. Will he walk away again? Will he go on hiatus? Stay tuned after these super chat announcements. Now, first one we have here is from Psycho Jet Black. He says, watch WWE have Goldberg face Happy Corbin at WrestleMania. Don't give them ideas, man, because they would legitimately consider doing something like that. So Goldberg could end his career on a happy ending.
Oh. I'm fine with that.
No, I mean, please.
You're not sacrificing, but you're not sacrificing anybody of any importance if you do that.
Yeah, maybe Corbin actually wins. Then he could say he retired both Goldberg and Kurt Angle.
No.
Oh, Jesus.
Goldberg versus Hook.
Hook versus Tony Nese is going to be the real deal to explain if Hook really has it or not.
What about Hook versus Veer?
Oh, God. Hook would kick Veer's ass.
How do you know? Veer's been coming for a long time. Can Hook come as long as Veer?
Veer would jump behind. I mean, Hook would jump behind him and hit him with that hook. What's it called? The hooked on phonics?
I mean, at this point, if it was the Attitude Era, Veer would come in stealing Val Venus's gimmick with the way it's all.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, but I played Hook's first match for my brother, and he was not impressed. Like, I was really impressed. I was like, yo, this guy's got it. So I played the match for my brother, and he's like, I'm
with your brother. And again, it's just because I need to see more. I'm not going to judge it and go ape shit over one match or a couple. Like, I need to see how he does it in the long term. I was hard on Roman Reigns for years. He was my third favorite Shield member originally. Now look where it's evolved to. I give people chances.
All right.
Aaron, more super chats?
Yeah, we do have a few more, so let me get to these here real quick. So I answered that one. All right. Game is on 100 sent in a $2 super chat. He says, yeah, right. Riddle beating Goldberg. LOL. Yeah, I mean, it's probably not going to happen. I mean, realistically, I think it's going to be Goldberg versus either Roman Reigns or maybe Drew McIntyre again, but probably Roman Reigns. I see being Roman Reigns' final match, or not Roman Reigns, Goldberg's final match against Roman Reigns, since that was the match that Vince McMahon promised everybody but did not deliver, and Vince is all about delivering on his guarantees, and that match was supposed to happen. The fans didn't get it, and I think Vince feels in his mind he still owes it to the fans, because we're all clamoring for that match. But in Vince's mind, that's the match he promised people, did not deliver. So if I had to make a prediction, I think it's going to be Goldberg versus Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns will retire Old Whisker Biscuit. Now, Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. He says, Goldberg versus Hook equals box office. But yeah, I don't think Tony Khan will be signing Goldberg. I think once Goldberg's done with WWE, that's it. I mean, you never know. Mark Henry and Big Show went to AEW, but I'm thinking it's probably not going to happen. I think Goldberg is done after this last WWE run.
Yeah, we haven't seen those guys in quite a while.
Yeah, well,
Mark Henry has his spot.
Yeah, he does the stuff on Rampage, and Big Show is just, I guess, a goodwill ambassador. Basically, same thing he was in WWE. Dwayne Atkinson sent in a $2 super chat. He says, would a CM Punk and MJF double turn work? I don't think MJF should turn anytime soon, so I would say no right now, but 6 months down the line, a year, I'm not sure. MJF just works so well as a heel. I can't imagine him as a babyface. But maybe one day.
I think it'll happen very much like the Ric Flair thing happened in the 1980s when he was just a repulsive scumbag and they still managed to turn him babyface. At a certain point, like, people respect the performer so much that they will cheer him and turn him babyface, and then he will do something incredibly dastardly and turn heel again.
Yep.
Right.
Hopefully it doesn't fall flat like the Miz's face turn. I was actually somewhat excited by that. I mean, Jericho made, but Jericho initially came in as a major face that you loved. But, the Miz, like, I was excited for his face turn, but it just fell flat. But maybe that went along with his booking, all the 50-50 booking and shit like that. I don't think AEW or MJF will let him fail.
What about Goldberg versus Gage?
Gage. Who is
or
Gage?
not Gage.
Gage versus Hook.
Gage versus Hook is what I meant to say.
Well, Gage is like 16. They made a big thing about that on TV. Nobody should be fighting Gage right now.
Well, he'll be 18 soon, and when he's ready, imagine Hook versus Gage Goldberg.
Yeah.
He's going to get, you think he's going to get a contract, Aaron? For sure, by the time he's like 18, 21 or whatever?
He might. I think there's a decent chance.
David Flair.
Yep.
Just saying.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, that's what's up with Hook, because like, it's like you would have thought he would have been trash just watching him week after week. You know what I mean? But he's like one of the first wrestlers' son that's actually not overhyped when it comes to him getting in the ring. Like, Hook really impressed me. His tights are a little bit off, though, wearing those boxer shorts. It's like he's got to find a little bit more of an identity.
Trying to come off as a shoot fighter.
Yeah, he needs to find. I guess he's got the music from Action Brosnan. I guess they probably paid Action Brosnan like $20,000, $30,000 to make him a song, which shows that they're probably invested, or they licensed one of his songs. I don't know how that goes. You know what I mean? But it shows that they're somewhat invested in Hook. Plus, but I'm saying, man, this is a kid that actually has a father in the business where he doesn't suck, like you're saying, David Flair. Like, that was horrible.
Yeah. Virtue, we got one more here, and then we'll get to this main event. We got to build up the anticipation because it is about our tribal chief. Clayton, the Specialist Williams, sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. He says, hey guys, do you see Triple H convincing Vince bringing back the black and gold NXT brand next year, the year after that? No, I don't think so. I think that is a thing of the past, and I think it's highly unlikely in all likelihood. Would you guys agree?
Yep.
Are they even going to get another TV deal next year? I mean, bringing back Toni Storm, it's like, why wouldn't they just send Toni Storm to NXT? I mean, their women division down there is really bad between Raquel and Mandy Rose. I mean, toxic is a good idea, but Mandy Rose as the lead just shows me how like far back the division has fallen.
Well, you got to keep in mind, Mike, Toni Storm might have just wanted to leave. So going back to NXT wasn't going to change anything for her. We don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy because guys like Aleister Black, who else? Like Aleister Black asked to go back there, I believe. Some guys asked to go back, you know, but Toni Storm is probably like, man, I've been at all your sites. I need to get out of here.
Oh, and Johnny Boy sent in a $2 super chat and says, stop with the annoying AEW themed shows. I don't really have a problem with the themed shows. They only do 4 pay-per-views a year.
He means like Holiday Bash. I think he means like Holiday Bash.
I'm fine with the theme shows, but you got to do more than change the graphic on the screen.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I agree on that one. I would say, you know, you can do one a month as like a special episode of Dynamite, but yeah, I would try to do more to make it a themed show and that sort of thing. But I have no issues with them doing it in place of a pay-per-view.
Was that holiday theme shows or just theme shows in general?
I think it just meant like how they're doing several, like this month they had Winter is Coming, Holiday Bash, New Year's Smash, 3 weeks in a row. I think that's
Winter's Coming. Winter's Coming is cool. You need things like Fighter Fest. And what was the other one that they had as well in addition to that? That were their first shows that they've now turned into specials?
Well, they did like Bash at the Beach.
Yeah.
There was one in Miami too that they did that was a special theme show.
Yeah, Road Rager.
Oh, wasn't at the beach? Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Tony's trying, man. Tony's trying. And he's giving us some matches. I mean, putting Sting in that match on Christmas. I mean, it did pop him a little rating. He almost got 1 million viewers that Christmas. And you saw him comparing. Like, he compared his Thanksgiving numbers from last year to this year. He's like, we actually went up in the ratings on Thanksgiving. So a little feather in his cap.
Oh, and speaking of David Flair, Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says David Flair has more charisma than Joe Gacy.
Not sure about that.
I don't know about
that one's, I think, a little debatable.
Nothing about the wrestling business hit David Flair's jeans, and you thought they would have.
As far as the black and gold brand and making a return goes, it will not happen. And it will not happen because Vince McMahon will not admit that he made a mistake.
Right. Good
David
point.
Arquette was better than David Flair.
Wow.
Well, now.
Yeah, he's trained now. See, I'd like to see him like get a shot for at least 1 or 2 matches now that he's actually trained. But the main event, right? And I had no intention of making Roman Reigns a thumbnail, the headline again, even though last week's show did real well, until I read WWE is no longer going to have COVID tests. And immediately I'm thinking, does this mean Roman's going home? And now I'm having doubt of this run that I envision him going on till whenever. Will he maybe lose it day one and go home? I'm going to speak last on this because I've thought about it. I have some personal experience with this, the illness that's going around that we've feared the last year plus. So, Mikey T, I'm going to start with you. What's going to happen on Roman's path here now that WWE is no longer testing? We know what happened when there was a lot of uncertainty with the virus last year. He went home for a few months.
Right.
Take it away.
Now, this whole thing that you mentioned about the stars having the option to test, it's like what they say in everyday life now. It's like if you've been, vaccinated, you're good to come in here without a mask. If you haven't, wear a mask. So it's like they're letting people be smart about it. But it's all about trust from what I was reading in this Roman Reigns interview today. Roman says he will fully go into that ring and put his body into the trust of the other superstars. But when it comes to the terms of, his body getting affected and then him going home and affecting his other family, his wife and his children, that's when he has to draw the line. And right now with the WWE not mandating the testing, which is pretty weird, you know what I mean? They're like, you would think they would want to, you would think with all the firings, it might have came from some people who weren't getting testing or something in that regard. But now Roman Reigns has to look at an employment place with like 100 or more people. We don't even know how many people work for the WWE really that he has to be around. And now he could really, put his life in jeopardy. Now, do I think Roman is going to leave? I think they're going to do what they can to, move Roman around like a movie star or the star that he is, keep him separated from the people that he doesn't need to be around. Now, that would be a lot easier in the Thunderdome era. So I don't really know how they're going to do that this day and age. I mean, you see what CM Punk does. He's all about being near the fans. And WWE is probably around fans on a more constant basis than AEW, 3 times a week and stuff like that. So I really don't know where this one is going to go. I hope Roman doesn't drop the title and leave the WWE once again, but he has to do what's best for him and his family, because at the end of the day, I mean, you could give your family COVID, and they'll get over it in a couple weeks. But if Roman gets COVID and loses his life, then they're forever affected. So that's the whole situation right here.
Okay, well, good. Well put, Jargo.
I mean, I don't know if he will or not, because I can't get into Roman's head on that level, right? But I think given the track record with what happened with The Miz, what seems like year and a half, 2 years ago now, when he went home the first time, I think he should go home. Will he? I don't know, but I think he should. Being immunocompromised and being diagnosed with leukemia and then having it go into remission and then having it come back, we know that Roman's immune system is not that of, the average person, right? So with everybody freaking out about Omicron, with all the people wanting to put the health precautions back into place, I think Roman should go home, with WWE putting kind of a kibosh on the asymptomatic testing of their talents. You don't know what is going on with the fans, and that's going to vary on a state to state, city by city kind of basis. But I do think that as we learn more about Omicron, everything indicates that it is a less severe version of COVID. And with the vaccinations being out there, I mean, I assume Roman is vaccinated. Being immunocompromised, he may actually be eligible for a 4th shot by the time we actually get towards WrestleMania. Now seems like a really good time. You have Brock Lesnar take the championship off of him on Saturday, and you can let Roman go home for a couple of months and kind of let this COVID thing calm down a little bit and really path out where Omicron is going, what's going to happen with the next variant, which is obviously going to be coming. This is going to be an endemic. We have passed the pandemic stage at this point. It's going to be very much like a flu, where we don't know what variant, what strain you're going to have coming around this year. And this is something that Roman is going to have to pay very close attention to over the rest of his life, whether he is in professional wrestling or not, just because of his immunocompromised status. So I think he should go home. Will he at this point? I don't know.
Could I address the perfect comment about Roman Reigns? Well, a lot of people are saying Roman Reigns should go to Hollywood. He should call The Rock and go to Hollywood. Now, Roman has had a couple roles. One, I think, was a straight to Netflix movie where he played some girl's boyfriend. He was at a bar. And then he was in, the Hobbs and Shaw with The Rock. But Roman Reigns is really not at the point of his career where he can just up and go to Hollywood at this point, you guys. Right now, he's at the top of the WWE. It's going to take a couple more years with this gimmick to really show off what he could do in Hollywood and go get a couple roles. Like John Cena had to work many years to get into, being taken seriously, where he had no time for WWE. So I kind of wanted just to address that. Like Roman Reigns cannot just pick up and go to Hollywood. He can go home, you know what I mean, until things are more comfortable, like Jargo was saying. But Hollywood, I don't think is going to be.
Yeah, he's making a lot of money. He's making Brock Lesnar money to wrestle, and he's not. That money wouldn't touch him in Hollywood. It took The Rock a long, long, long time to make more money in Hollywood than he was in wrestling. So,
and let's be honest, whether it be Cena, whether it be Dwayne, they showed a lot more range as far as the characters they can portray during their time in the WWE than we have seen out of Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Savage line of the night.
But see, Roman's a badass, and that's what we're seeing now, and that's why he's going to stay in wrestling with occasional roles because he's related to The Rock, where he's just a fighter in a movie, doesn't even talk. That's what Roman's going to do, and I think he's okay with that. And his fans are
build
okay
up
with
his
that.
credibility.
All right, Aaron, I'm going to go to you next.
All right. Let me get to these comments here. Mo Camera is here because
Of course, because we're talking about Roman.
Right. He shows up when we talk about Roman. He has been summoned. Mo Camera sent in a $7 super chat. Thank you for that. He says, Roman Reigns is a draw. That's why they had a hard time selling tickets for Survivor Series and SmackDown house shows, even though Roman Reigns was advertised Mr. J. Well, he directed that at you.
I was to say, well, how did I get looped into this? I'm not the Roman Reigns supporter.
I mean, I'm
here.
looking at Mo Camera's picture, and I can't take anything he says seriously. So
Let him have it, Jargo.
the thing is, Roman Reigns is the only guy that, since he's been at the top, he doesn't have a steady revolving door of main event talent to work with him that's not part-timers coming here and there like John Cena had, and of course the Attitude Era. We had the big draws like Austin and Rock, but they all had top guys working with them that you could count on, that the fans got behind at certain times, even if it was Undertaker, Mick Foley, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, virtually.
Right. It's not Roman, and it's not Roman's fault. It's the WWE system's fault for not letting any other stars become main eventers, and it's hurt him. And he takes
everybody else. Everybody else on the roster has been so damaged in the booking that even if they try to present them as at the same star level as Roman Reigns, it falls on deaf ears.
And I say Roman's like that last string that holds to any type of main event status to casual viewers, just because WWE's portrayed him that way, and but like we're talking just a few 100,000 difference with him and without him. That's not a lot, but it's something. But
Roman is not the draw. Roman is just the guy on top. The WWE itself has become the draw.
Right.
No, you're right with that, because in terms of they're not going to get back to those big numbers, but Roman moves the needle a little bit in the small landscape of where wrestling's at now.
Right.
I've done the rating. Like, dude, they couldn't even hit, and it's network TV jargon, I know it, but when he was off that summer of COVID, SmackDown was almost under 1.9 million. He comes back and they get back up to the 2.1, 2.2. It's very small people that pay attention to him, but that's something because wrestling's so small now. So a few 100,000 doesn't seem like a lot in history, but in today's landscape, he moves the needle enough to have that shirt, even if it's just a little bit.
In Virtue, look who he's been paired with. I mean, the guy did
Raw.
The guy's been
1.6
paired.
million. It's awful. He's not on Raw.
But look who he's been paired with, man. He's been paired with he was with Jimmy Uso or Jey Uso for 3 months. He was with Kevin Owens for 3 months. No disrespect to Kevin Owens. Cesaro. He really hasn't had the best opponents, and they've still been drawing over 2 million viewers. I want to bring up another thing in regard to the ticket sales of Roman Reigns and these guys, because a lot of people out there have been saying that AEW sells more tickets than WWE. My response to that, I was thinking about it, WWE does maybe 3 times as many shows. They're selling 3 times as many tickets a week sometimes. AEW
but
putting on the one show.
Yeah, but when you only draw 5,000 people in the Garden on Christmas weekend,
Roman wasn't on that show. He wasn't advertised for it.
Why wasn't Roman on that show?
Wow.
He was supposed to be in Tampa.
Well, nobody knew Kevin Owens and Edge was on that show either, but it was supposed to never happen.
It's weird. WWE
it's still the Garden on Christmas weekend. Like that.
Yeah,
that is tradition for years.
AEW sells their tickets because Tony Khan's having this is unconfirmed. This is pure speculation, but he's having third-party scalpers buy them from the box office to say they sold. People that are going to these AEW events are seeing a lot of empty seats still. Other than those big ones in New York and Chicago, but there's something fishy going on there too. But the numbers look good, so the reporters can say they sold out or sold more than WWE. Billionaires that can throw money away,
Right?
That aren't structured into profit sharing.
Wait,
like,
are we pretending like Vince has never papered an arena?
Well, yeah, but
I mean,
but
a spade a spade.
They both are in similar positions where
Yes.
they cater to their niche audience.
They're
WWE
all
is
crooked promoters.
mainstream.
I mean, that at the end of the day, they're all crooked promoters.
remember
Yeah,
that
wrestling
AEW fans.
wrestling is just not hot outside of the bubble, and we've talked about this many times. But let me get back to Roman Reigns here, and the main
because I'm
topic.
going last on this one, so go.
If Roman left, yeah, I think WWE would carry on. They'd be fine, whatever. But I think it would be a pretty big void. I have been very entertained by Roman Reigns over the past year and a half. To me, if I was just a casual viewer watching and Roman Reigns was gone, I might check out. Roman Reigns, to me, most weeks is the most entertaining thing about SmackDown and wrestling in general. I just posted the NoDQ.com year-end awards this week. Today, in fact, and Roman Reigns won pretty much every category that he was nominated in. He won the Male Superstar of the Year. Now, granted, this is all a pretty small sample size compared to the overall audience, but won Male Superstar of the Year, won the Feud of the Year, Match of the Year. He won the Catchphrase of the Year,
Match of the Year.
Match
Oh yeah,
of the Year.
Aaron and I had a conversation about that.
My no DQ, my being the head of the table on the review has really, really helped convince the No DQ Galaxy who to vote for. So I guess you can blame me
Yeah,
for Roman Reigns winning all these awards.
I'm clearly turning heel on the review tonight as if I wasn't one already. But I
What was
mean,
the match of the year?
I'm very disappointed
The
in
Mania
you, No
match.
DQ Galaxy. I'm very disappointed in you. I don't think a Roman Reigns match would make my top 25 matches of 2021, let alone the match of the year. I'm very disappointed in you.
Wow.
The Mania match, Mikey T. That's the one, right, Aaron?
Wow.
Yes, the
that's gotta be
WrestleMania
top
main
10.
event. He stacked them, and that's the visual. Roman Reigns stacking Edge and Daniel Bryan and pinning them, and that was a memorable moment. That was a WrestleMania moment.
Yeah, I mean, I would have rather it just been Roman Reigns versus Edge, though. They gave us that at Money in the Bank. I was a little upset that we didn't. That Edge's return kind of got ruined like Batista's.
Oh, in the chat room, Jargo, you were asked, "What's your top 25? Like, what are matches you would put above that?" Go ahead.
I will make up a list and I will send it over to Aaron Rift. Aaron, I will have that to you tomorrow.
Okay, well, I'll post it on NoDQ.com. Then we'll get
Jargo's top 25 matches of 2021, and I will be amazed if a WWE match makes the list, let alone a Roman Reigns match.
Because Mr. J Jargo is a man of culture. He watches wrestling from around the world. He just doesn't stick to one flavor of ice cream. He samples everything, and he.
But WWE is like butter pecan. All
You're
right,
like
it tastes like
most
shit
of us-
no matter what you
my
put
God.
on
Most
it.
of
It's butter
How
pecan.
weird! How weird is that? I like butter pecan. Oh my!
Oh my God!
Like that's one of my go-to ice creams.
Yeah.
It's making sense.
You have
But,
to like eat around the
a lot of
pecan.
us are like here. We're
Oh, the
very
pecan's
narrow
awesome.
with our wrestling viewing. Jargo, he's out here. He broadens his horizons.
And to be fair, I like professional wrestling. I do not like sports entertainment, and I feel like I'm pretty open about that.
Well,
Brandy
one
Rhodes
is
this
guys
week, huh?
pretending to beat each other up, and the other one is guys pretending to beat each other up.
Aaron, you got some super chats. Anything else you're adding to Roman Reigns here in the
Well-
state of his?
Well, real quick here,
2022?
Psycho Jet Black, and then I will finish off with my thoughts on Roman Reigns. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Says, "What does Jargo hate more, chaos or trios titles?"
The trios titles in chaos. When you add Yoshi Bon Jovi, the Roman Reigns of New Japan Pro Wrestling, Hiroki Goto, and freaking Tomohiro Ishii running around with the never open weight 6-man titles, just embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing.
Hold on. Did Tony Khan put the Roman Reigns of Japan with the best friends?
Oh, Hiroki Goto is just, oh my, don't even get me going on Hiroki
That's
Goto.
worse
We'll
than
be
what
here
he
for
did
another
to
hour,
Naomi
and Virtue
Suzuki.
needs to take a nap.
Turning his music off.
Is this Hiroki Goto somebody I would like then if you're comparing him to Roman Reigns?
Probably.
I'm gonna have
You
to check
probably
him
love
out.
Hiroki Goto.
Yeah.
And that is another discredit to Tony Khan's booking, putting these guys in the mid card.
All right. Let me finish off with my thoughts here. Now, Psycho Jet Black sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. He says, because of Brock Lesnar's past with diverticulitis, would he also leave for a while and drop the belt to someone else, or will he stay till WrestleMania? Okay, here's the thing about Brock Lesnar. The guy is basically a hermit. He lives on a farm in the middle of nowhere in Canada. He flies his own plane to go to the WWE shows, and he shows up, probably just sees Roman Reigns. I'm guessing Brock Lesnar's not the kind of guy that's going to socialize with everybody in the back. Maybe he does. I'm not there, so I don't know. But I just get the feeling he's the kind of guy that shows up, does his job, and then goes home, and he has a minimal amount of contact with other human beings. So I think Brock Lesnar will stick around. Roman Reigns, my gut feeling, and I cannot speak for him, and I do think that Jargo and Mikey T made some great points, and Virtue still has to go here. We ran longer than we were expecting here, guys. But we had to end 2021 on a bang here with this final video. Roman Reigns, my prediction regarding Roman Reigns is that he will stick it out as much as he can. At the very most, I think maybe he will not do the house shows. Maybe he will drop the title and take a few months off of television until WrestleMania. I think Roman Reigns will be at WrestleMania regardless. Cases are very high right now. The Omicron variant is very high right now. The United States just hit a new record of new cases. So that's definitely something that is concerning people. Roman Reigns, he was pulled from the live event this weekend. They wanted to make sure that he's good to go for day one. They don't want to disrupt WrestleMania plans. I think he'll be at day one. And I still feel like Brock Lesnar is going to win the title just to change things up here and have Roman Reigns chase. And maybe Roman Reigns takes a few months off, but I don't think he is going to disappear completely from WWE and just take another hiatus. But you never know. Nothing is a sure thing. Anything's possible. And we'll see how it goes. We do have Mo Camera with a $7 super chat. Mo Camera, Virtue's just like, enough of this BS. He says, let me make one thing clear. I don't like Roman. I only talk about him because he is the focal point and center of attention. I do not like him.
That's like the biggest oxymoron I've ever seen. I mean, just keep saying you don't like him, but keep talking about him, and I'll always say I told you so.
All right. And Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. He says, imagine Takagi with a rap gimmick.
Takagi. Shingo Takagi. Come on.
Takagi.
Aaron. He's only your
That's Aaron.
IWGP World Heavyweight Champion.
If you try to have
of
me
God.
pronounce a Japanese wrestler's name, there's like a 85% to 90% chance that I'm going to mess it up. And if it has more than 3 syllables, then those chances drastically increase.
I imagine a Shingo Takagi rap record would sound a lot like Enter the Ninja by Die Antwoord.
All right, Virtue, the floor is yours now.
Okay.
The head of the table.
So where we're at with the pandemic, a lot of people are vaccinated. There's still some that aren't. I've known people in the past 2 weeks that are getting tested positive, and it's probably this Omicron or whatever it's called, and they're fine. They're sniffles, and I'm talking healthy people, immune compromised people. They're pretty much all vaccinated. Somebody wasn't. They're all getting over it, and within 5 days, they're testing negative. And I know it's a small sample size here, but what I'm saying is I believe that whatever doctors Roman Reigns has and WWE will help provide him are some of the top ones in the U.S. and the world. And they might pull him out of house shows like Aaron said, but I feel we're at this endemic like Jargo mentioned earlier, and Roman Reigns is going to keep doing what he does with no fear, because now we have more certainty, unlike when he went home before it was uncertainty. I don't know when the match with The Rock, if will ever happen, but I know we'll get to WrestleMania. At that point, that scheduled time off, we've heard rumors that he could take off, could still happen. So I wouldn't be surprised if he takes the summer off, comes back again at SummerSlam. But Roman Reigns fans, he ain't going anywhere. He's going to stick this out. Even with his leukemia, he's going to trust his doctors, science. And it's weird because WWE's taking, you don't have to test now or whatever. It doesn't mean people still won't. So they might be a little more protective with the people working with Roman if they're all in agreeing. But I just feel that we're at the point now where we're getting sniffles. And I know people have gotten really sick from COVID, right? And they battled it for weeks and months, and people have died. But flu killed people for years, right? We've had other pandemics in the past. We're at a stage now with this. I feel WWE has the beat on it. They're going to move forward the best they can, and Roman Reigns will be there until he decides to take his normal vacation, whether that's after WrestleMania or not. That's just me giving you my gut feeling, which tends to be right when I talk about Roman Reigns.
And I mean, how many times would you even have to have Roman Reigns inside of the building for SmackDown Live anyway over the course of a month?
Yeah, I mean, you could do pre-tapes,
pre-tapes, backstage. Like there's a lot of different things that you could do that you do not need him inside of the building for.
Yeah. So I think Roman fans, you're going to have until Mania, right? That's just my gut feeling.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Virtue. And yeah, that's it. Day one coming up this weekend. Going to be an interesting show to say the least.
I mean, I'm hyped because they pulled him from Tampa. We're hearing this whole weird, wacky COVID test stuff. Like, I'm more hyped to see how this is going to play out now than even I was before it, because there's that element of, is Roman going to go home? Does that make, it adds more intrigue to me just because we don't know. But I think, and I didn't do the predictions, but everybody knows Roman's going to retain. That's
right. Well, I went with Brock, but Virtue, real quick. Another thing I wanted to mention about Roman Reigns and what Mo Cameron was saying, when Roman Reigns was in Chicago a few weeks ago, they did not chant CM Punk at him. In fact, they were chanting Roman. He had that crowd in Chicago in the palm of his hand.
Yep. I mean, that's
CM Punk is still
and
Roman.
The night, like I said, it took me a while, because I wasn't a fan of how they were pushing Reigns in the main event and suffer and succotash, and we know how it all went. But he won me over a little bit in that match at WrestleMania 31 against Brock Lesnar before Rollins cashed in, and then that night after he beat The Undertaker, the way he stood there in that ring, I felt like he was learning what he needed to be. And it's weird because they didn't turn him heel that night, which they should have, but they finally did it. And it's weird during a pandemic. And he's grown. I mean, I know he's not everybody's cup of tea when it comes to pro wrestling, but I was hard on it. He was my third favorite Shield member, and now he's like my favorite guy to watch on a wrestling TV program. So, and people thought I was doing it because everybody hated the push Cena 2.0. And now it's funny because a lot of people have grown to like him because they're seeing this guy can entertain you when he's given the right opportunity with no handcuffs. Maybe a little Paul Heyman sprinkled in there. Boom, there you go. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Yep, he's fine.
Let's go ahead and do our plugs, and hopefully we can get out of here. Mikey T, good to have you back this week.
No, man, it was great to be on today, man. I really appreciate y'all for having me. Anybody out there that wants to follow me on social media, it's Instagram, Mikey T _ the movie star. If you guys are on Instagram, I'll follow you back. Just shoot me a follow over there. I also have a YouTube channel. It's Report Card Radio. I do video interviews with hip hop artists. I've interviewed everyone from like Lil Wayne to Rick Ross, French Montana, Yo Gotti, a lot of the best rappers in the game, man. So definitely give me a follow, and I'll follow y'all back. Thanks for having me on, guys. Jargo, Virtue, Aaron, as always.
Good having you on, man. All right, over to you, Doctor.
Social media platforms at NotJargo, MichaelJargo.com. I will be sitting down tomorrow night with our friend Noah, and we will be recording the Wrestle Kingdom preview for Wrestle Kingdom coming up on Tuesday, Wednesday, and next weekend for night 3. If anybody's going to be watching Noah versus New Japan, destinopod.com have all the information for that show for you.
All right, good having you on. Someone in the chat asked, what was the shirt of the year in wrestling? I like the Bloodline shirt, but I'm going to have to go with Needle Mover because it was off of, right? Who said Needle Mover? Was it Punk's promo or?
Well, Roman actually said it. He said that CM Punk does not move the needle.
That's right. I thought someone else said it first before you
Guys,
said it,
do you know how
that's
like
my
at the
favorite shirt.
you know how like at the beginning of the Rock's music, after a while it started going, "It's cooking."
Yeah,
Do you
that was a
think-
great era.
Do you think Roman Reigns' music could maybe at the beginning go, "Needle Mover"?
Don't give Vince ideas. I mean,
Yeah,
that would be
remember what he did with Burn It Down.
I said it here. That was so
He'd
good.
have
that
like
he made it
needles
back.
falling out of the ceiling via CGI.
You're giving them ideas now.
They need to do it. That man is the needle mover. Hey, he moves. I mean, Tony Khan would consider that a needle movement. I mean, they did 1,300, 1.3, and now they're back to 900,000. Roman Reigns moves that same needle.
Well, at the very least, he moves it for the NoDQ review, which is proven by dozens and dozens of episodes at a small scale, but it's big difference for us. All right, Aaron.
All right, so this weekend we got day 1, the first pay-per-view of 2022. We're going to kick it off in a big way. This Sunday, I will be doing the live coverage over on NoDQ.com, and then I will be back after the show to do the recap. That's usually around 11:30-ish, whenever WWE pay-per-views end. Make sure you guys tune in for all that good stuff, and just stay tuned to NoDQ. And if you enjoyed the video, please spread the word, share a link to this video on social media, tell your friends, and just subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you in the new year.
And be sure to follow me on Twitter at NoDQ_virtue. That's where all the fun and excitement is at. That's all I'll say. And there's that shirt over on NoDQ.com/merch. On the back, it says NoDQ.com with the Virtue logo. For Mikey T, for Dr. Jargo, and for Aaron Rift, I am Virtue, and we will see you again next time. Happy New Year.